And with that, we are live. Welcome to Marketing Momentum with Charles and Deborah. Hi, Charles.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Deborah.
We were just talking about, okay, so the title is What's Next? And that title is there because I don't know what we're talking about today, so we'll figure it out as we go. But that's actually one of the things I really love about doing this with you, Charles, is I've worked with people and I'm not out there to pick on anyone, but where everything is so scripted that your preparation for one 30-minute show is like 2 hours. I can't do that. I don't have 2.5 hours.
Yep. Yeah. No.
I know we've been jabbering for I guess a half hour before we started. So maybe that, but I can't have that forced mechanism where it's like, let's hash this out until we practically hate each other. And then we'll go live with a scripted version.
Right. With our teeth gritting.
Yeah, exactly. And although speaking of music, I did have on my Killing Me Softly song. When I recorded that in Nashville, a producer there, I love him. He's wonderful, Denny Martin. And he's really, really talented. And we went through all the songs and they're all great. And I think I might have said this before, but everything worked fine. So we got to Killing Me Softly. And I guess I was thinking soft and fluffy and wonderful. And he said, get angry. I think I told you this. I was like, I'm not angry. Get angry. I'm not angry. So they're going back and forth. And the priest says, like, Denny, I'm really angry with you. He goes, good. Now
You're making me angry now.
Now go sing. And, I listen to it and go, I don't know what that was. I don't sound angry in the song to me, but somehow he got that anger going and that worked for the music. So it's interesting, all those different tactics that are used for recording.
Now is this for an album you're doing or what?
This was actually the albumette. Yes, I can say albumette album. So the EP that I did a few years ago. And we actually recorded it in Nashville. So that was when we were doing that. That was the one that he was saying, get angry on Killing Me Softly. So, So any of you watching this, just go look for. You have to actually look for my name because I think a lot of people recorded Killing Me Softly. Deborah E. and Killing Me Softly to find it in iTunes.
Yeah. Yeah. I when you do, so you do Killing Me Softly. Is that considered to be a cover or what is that considered to be?
Yep. That's a cover. I did 2 covers on, oh goodness. What's the other? Oh, how could I forget this one? Black Coffee by Ella Fitzgerald. So I did 2 covers on a 5-song EP. And then the other 3, and it's interesting because the other 3 were never performed. And so it's like they were cutting room floor. So they gave them to me to perform, they meaning the songwriters. But then when I go actually submit my music to like Pandora or, something like that, they'll say, well, because you didn't write them, they're not original. And maybe I'm wrong, but my definition of original was always like never before performed. So it's not a cover. I'm not doing one that someone else has done. I'm like the first one to record those 3 songs.
Yeah.
But you're judged because your name doesn't show up as one of the songwriters. I never knew that. So a little tip to anyone out there, if you get a song from your best friend and they wrote it for you to perform and it's going to be an original for you, ask permission to get your name put on as a songwriter, which is kind of a bummer because your friend might say, well, I don't want to split the royalties with you, but but that definitely helps.
So how now, and we talked about this before, or we looked at it. I don't know if we talked about it on the show. How is Google, and in particular YouTube, and I don't even know if that's the end all be all in terms of video these days. They say Facebook is now, but people can earn AdSense apparently from YouTube. So how are they looking at covers? Because it's my understanding, we looked at that one artist who we hope to have at some point. I guess his name is Noah. He's been on Glee and the whole thing. And he's got this, and he did this cover of the song by LMAO, right? Or is that what it is? Is that the name of the group?
I don't know if that's how I always read it and I don't know.
But so he totally redid it and did it in such a way that it was, some people say it was almost better than when they did it, but it was a cover. He's obviously using it for commercial purposes. But he didn't write it, right? He rearranged it. He performed it on YouTube and he's monetizing it. So, so how do you make sense of that? Right.
You mean like who gets what dollar or how do they make money?
Yeah, but I don't think he's not sending any money to LMAO. I don't think. I think the money's coming to him.
He's supposed to be. So like what I did with Killing Me Softly and with Black Coffee is for as far as the performing, I don't feel like I'm the expert on this one, but I will tell you how I handle it for my album is I sign up on the Harry Fox website. They handle all the digital end of it as far as digital rights. So for all the downloads, everything that I sell on iTunes, that's that cover, they take a portion. I actually pay for in chunks of 250. So it's possible that I could pay for 250 and only one sells, and there's 249 I paid for that the songwriter gets the money for it. But then, I may or may not have sold them. Plus, there's the promotional ones. What Denny told me, and again, I don't want to put Denny in the spot or legal advice here or anything, but promotional you can get by with kind of handing it to someone, not necessarily recording that because you're not collecting money for it. And for a long time, I was trying to even track those, but it ends up that my CD is so inexpensive. It's like $5 for the CD that I give away more than I sell. So I did pay all the digital rights, but as far as the actual physical copies, I don't generally sell those. I actually give them away almost like little promo gifts. So there's a whole nother, you have to actually report your sales so that the songwriters get a portion of the money from that.
So even as a songwriter, I get AdSense check from YouTube.
I think so. I haven't looked at the contract.
Some of that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm supposed to write a check to somebody.
It should be handled by YouTube on that if they're actually covering it as far as saying, yes, this is an okay song, we can cover. I think they're just a little bit that I read. I didn't read all of it, but and I know now it's old news and I was supposed to read that a long time ago. But I believe that YouTube's handling those payments to whoever's designated as the owner of those rights.
Okay.
Is that what you read?
Right. Yeah. No, you know what? I really need to read it. I really need to read it again and try to get a handle on it, because I mean I'm seeing a lot of covers, right? And now obviously, the more popular cover, the more that you're gonna have all these people performing it. But now they have the guys it there on YouTube. But now I guess they're changing their model now, because some of the revenue they're doing as a subscription service. How much, I guess you've got to have 1,000 subscribers to have a subscription. But again, you're really, if you're going to have people subscribe, that kind of builds into that whole loyalty piece that we talked about with, Amanda Palmer. But then, if you're doing a cover, right? I don't know how that works if you've got subscribers.
And, the question would be too, what's easier? Like I'm thinking subscriptions, and I'm almost feeling like it'd be easier to create a subscription site and where there's something that, hey, this month we're giving away T-shirts or something. So sign up here and we'll ship you a T-shirt, or, to these people that are already paying like a membership. And we talked about that earlier today, even on a marketing end or whatever, a Mixergy type model. It seems like that would be an easier model for the musician because they can add in other stuff other than the music. Can they charge like the same as what they charge on YouTube, but you get a bonus for being a part of this membership site? Of course, then they have to find a developer to set up the site for them. But I'm just wondering the ROI for the fan.
When you live, let's say, so if you live stream a performance, is there a difference between, and this, I guess, a little better, is there a difference between what is it called, Wirecast, and what we're doing now, which is Hangouts? Is there a visible difference that the user's going to see on their end and hear if you use Wirecast or broadcast?
There's some things that you can do that are normally thought of as post-production that you can actually do live. Of course, the television, producers are already doing it. But one thing is the live green screen, so you can insert that. And by the way, Charles, we just now, I don't want to tell you what we did exactly live, but it's all legal. It's legal and ethical, I promise. But we do have a functional device, so we were able to verify that the other device that we had was actually, the device itself was broken. So we were happy to finally have something that works with Wirecasting. So maybe, those viewers watching Marketing Momentum, you'll be able to actually see how that works, because we'll be able to implement that. But Michael would be the expert on the whole feature list and what can be done. But you can also, depending on what subscription level you have, you can bring in other locations, which would be really fun for like a multi-city festival or something like that, where you can loop that in. And I mean, you can do that to some extent with Hangouts, but it's like with the Wirecast, you take it the next level. So you can insert, the green screen. You can have a similar background on all of them, but maybe a little bit different, showing this one's in Harrisburg, this one's Los Angeles. And then the controller can actually switch between the different locations and so forth, which, yes, it's true. You can do that in Hangouts too, but I think it's just a more professional level. Maybe that's a better way to describe it.
Is anyone, again, I don't know. Now, is anyone that we would have heard of, is somebody actually doing it? I know it's there. Well, I'm wondering if the use of it is, because it sounds like you got to have, I mean, anything that you've got to bring Mike in on, that means that you've got to have a professional, right? I mean, this isn't for like me to do, even though it's there
you
for
could
me.
handle it. You could handle it, Charles.
Right. But I mean, it's like everything else, right? The tools are there, but and anybody can access them, but it really takes somebody who knows what they're doing to put sound and video across where people will like it.
I think what you just pegged something that is probably one of the biggest challenges that all of us face, as far as, like, I'm looking at the studio around me. We have so much as far as lighting. I shouldn't like advertise this. Oh, and we live here, and this is the studio. But I mean, there's so many resources, cameras, things like this. I'll just stop at that point. The sound in the sound studio, everything that we could use. But then, what do you have problems with? You have problems with location, people, where they're at, or you might find the person that's like so committed to do this, but they're in a different time zone, or they're just simply in another city. Like in this case, Charles, if we were a mile apart, we could be having these, we could be making music videos and making money making music on YouTube. But you find there's always like some factor that seems to limit that. So yeah, when it comes to Wirecasting, I haven't, to answer your original question, I haven't seen it, but that's, I'm not spending 24/7 watching Hangouts. I tend to do more of them than I watch, but I do remember, and I have to go ask him. I don't even know if I should say his name, but I was doing a Hangout with Murray Newlands quite a while ago, and he was doing something funky in the background. I don't know if it's something that he came up with separately or it was a Wirecast. It seemed like a Wirecast, and it was right around the time that we did the show on Wirecasting, Charles. So
Right.
it was back a while, and it makes me wonder if that's what he was doing. Whatever it was kind of broken. Sorry, Murray, just stating it like it is. it was kind of like not working, and something was really funky with it. So, which happens, early adopter. But other than that, I'm seeing people use like the enhanced and the smooth feature and the blurred out and some of the stuff that's in the Hangouts, but I'm not seeing the Wirecasting as much. Are you seeing it?
I haven't seen it at all, and I still am not at that point. Now, I'm not is it Luddite or Luddite? I'm not sure what the term is. I don't watch videos on my mobile device. Now, I'm not out and about a lot. And so, the influx of people who are watching all these things on their mobile device, I don't know if their experience on YouTube. See, I'm thinking of myself now as a consumer, that if I'm going to pay, even if it's $10 a month, and I'm going to pay for your YouTube channel because I like the entertainment value for whatever the reason, then I would want it to be at a certain level on my mobile device, every place where I'm going to be. I mean, I don't know if is that asking for too much? Is that going to happen? Because I guess I'm just thinking about music. Music is all about the sound. At some point, I don't really care about the video as much as I care about the sound.
We're weird as viewers in that sense, because I totally agree with you that if I'm going to pay $10, even though it's not that much, but still, if I'm going to pay $10, I want to see some high quality video, even though, like you, I actually care more about the audio than the video. So it almost sounds like we're hypocrites as listeners, but it's true. I completely agree with what you're saying, Charles, as a viewer. And I think for the subscription, I think like the musician's going to have to move away from the Hangout, have the Hangout for the real live, this is me, I'm talking, even do some live shows, but I think you're going to have to go post-production and actually create some really high quality with the high def cameras, the whole thing, for some music videos.
Now, the last time, and we've mentioned her name a couple of times, when you mentioned this, I think it was Madeline, who mentioned Amanda Palmer. That was the first time I ever heard of her, and I Googled her as a result of And now, and now all of a sudden, I see her all over my news feed and Facebook and other people talking about her. I guess I don't know what that's called, but I see her every place. So now, is she a phenomenon within the world of musicians that she has figured out how marketing works? Is it that she's a phenomenon because she does all this really weird stuff that's out of the box, or how are people in particular, because you're a jazz musician, right?
Mm-hmm.
So certainly, I mean, you're not going to be body surfing, right, in
Nope.
the crowd, but I mean,
Not my style.
but who's talking? I mean, who are the people that are talking about her? Are musicians talking about her that she's got it right?
I think some of it's musicians, and come to think of it, I think I heard of Amanda through Madeline and the GG chat and all the and her group it's Go Girls, so it was established, and she gave the history in that, where originally it was to give women kind of that equal opportunity with men back in the day when they're actually that equal opportunity may have been a little bit slanted or whatever, and now I think it's fair to say that's definitely an more even playing. So men are welcome, just to defend Go Girls. It's called Girl Girls, but you're welcome to in GG chat. But yeah, I think that because of the makeup of that group being women in music, it ended up that people were really identifying with Amanda Palmer. So she became, I mean, I'm just kind of looking back thinking, yeah, we were always mentioning Amanda, not that we were worshiping Amanda Palmer, but she was a topic that came up. So that helps when you have whole pockets of communities, and Go Girls is definitely a community. It's what, 20 years old now, so it's been around for a while. So that community was ready-made for Amanda Palmer, and I'm sure it's not the only community, but if you start multiplying a 20-year-old community by several different communities, you could have 50 different communities like that. They could, I don't care, they could be a guy, like a Go Guys, and they happen to think she's hot. I don't know, whatever, that they're kind of taking her on as their mascot, if you will. Now she's moving to that point. There's that point where everyone's talking about her because, I better be talking about her because everybody else is talking about her.
She's an icon.
Yes. I don't think that someone can, I might be wrong, I don't think someone can go, let's go look at Amanda Palmer, let's spend all this time dissecting, reverse engineering, not Amanda herself, but what she has done to get there, lay that out in a notebook, and then go step by step what she's done and repeat it and get to the same level of success. I do think that she's a product of being in the right place at the right time and having that success. I don't think it can be repeated in the same way.
But are people talking about her because of the music? Are they talking about her because of this? We call it generically marketing small m, even though what she's talking about is more than that: audience management and connecting and all the stuff that she's doing. Is that what makes her an icon, I guess, among musicians?
You know what? I actually can answer that. And you know why? Because it just occurred to me, and maybe I shouldn't admit this live. I haven't listened to her music. Do you realize? Wow, I just realized I'm like a product of your question. You can sit and talk about someone and how wonderful you think they are, and not realize that I have never listened to Amanda's music. I can't I feel like a fake admitting that, but which proves that everything I've been saying that's positive about Amanda Palmer has been based on the person and the icon. Where I fell in love with Amanda was the TED Talk, because I thought she was really real and she connected with the audience. And that's where I was like, wow, this woman, whatever her brand is, whatever she stands for, that's not the point. It's how it's like she's one with her brand and her delivery of who she is. I felt that was really authentic. Whatever that brand is, she was authentic.
And she was able to convey that through the TED Talk, which and the TED Talk is a totally another, phenomenon, right? The way they have really captured them, and who is it? Khan Academy really captured what YouTube can do, right? And really project that in every video that they do. It seems like you are riveted, depending on who you are and whatever you're looking for, on videos like that. Some of that has to do with TED, and it's funny because I think that is how Madeline referred to the whole thing. She referred to the TED Talk, and maybe she doesn't listen to the music either.
That's a good question, but it is interesting, as you're asking, is it the music or is it the person? And right there, I would have to say it's the person, because I haven't listened to the music. But some of it, I was talking to a friend of mine, Roxana, this week, and I thought she was joking when she said this. I asked a few more questions because she's had her 15 minutes of fame, or maybe even more. But she gave me the whole scoop, and here's, I don't know her whole story, so I probably misquote it, but what it is I think she's from Romania. Roxana, please forgive me if I've got the wrong country, but it's somewhere and it's not in the United States. So she was like the face of Odesk, yes, I can talk, or Freelancer or something. And I suppose if I went and looked, I could find her. I think it was the freelancer like in her country. I don't know what happened if she submitted something and they thought she was cute and she became, like she's like the Danica Patrick of GoDaddy. She's just a normal user. That's what I understand. And she'd always been a freelancer. She's actually pretty young, but it looks like she's been doing this for a while. Again, I'm probably not doing justice to her story, and I should probably go read the story myself. But what happened was she was there, and then someone else, she ended up on the cover of a magazine in her country, and then somebody else caught hold of it. They caught hold of it in the United States. So, it's like you're the cover of one magazine, then somebody wants to know about you over here, and someone wants to know about you here. And she goes, now it's to the point where, and again, I probably shouldn't, so just pretend you didn't hear her name. But she gets calls like, press wants to come into her house, wants to have time with her. And she goes, it's like, I want to change my number. I want to hide. Now she can't get away from the press to live a normal life. And I'm thinking, here's this woman that actually, I don't know of her from the celebrity status. I knew her otherwise. I just know her as a regular person. But here's somebody who was pretty much a regular person, just happened to maybe be chosen for being cute at a website. And now she can't escape that to going back to being a regular person. And maybe, bringing that back to Amanda Palmer, there's some magic where you're at the right place at the right time for your 15 minutes of fame, but that 15 minutes doesn't end and it just keeps going.
Right. Yeah. And I guess you can try to program yourself. A person can try to program oneself to get there. I saw a Udemy course, I think the other day, about how to get yourself on, how to get yourself onto TED. And I thought to myself, well, I guess that's cool, but does it work that way? So I get on. I know, I'm just kidding. Did you get myself? I don't know. Well, this, that'd be a good question. He's teaching a course on it. I don't know if that means that he was.
Should guarantee. Oh, did he get on TED? Okay, all right.
Yeah. So I mean, no. I mean, I'm not going to pay for the course, but I mean, I wonder if it's that easy, if you can program yourself into that 15 minutes, because I guess to some degree, the popular conception is you play or you do what you do for the passion of it, and then at some point you intersect into that 15 minutes. The other side to that is that if you don't try to get there, you're not going to get there. But in this case, and I know who you're talking about, right?
Do you?
Right? Roxanne. Yeah. She was not trying to, I don't think she was programming herself to be there.
No, I don't think so either.
Not as a freelancer.
I think it just kind of happened, like great opportunity. She went for it. And now it's like she wishes it would kind of back off a little bit. But
and some people are dying to have it, right?
Yes. Well, she said, Deb, don't wish for that, because then you can't go back from that. But I was thinking, when you mentioned TED Talk, and this one I definitely cannot mention who I'm talking about, but I will say that you and I have done more marketing shows, even just you and I together, not counting Charles, everything that you've done, with Webinar Fusion Pro, everything that you've done by yourself, everything you've done with Gain Mindshare, you start adding up, how many videos you've made, and it starts adding up. And if you turn those, the podcasts, we have produced more content by, I almost want to say 1,000-fold, definitely 100-fold, if not like 500-fold, compared to the one person I'm thinking of. But he did a TED Talk. Now it was like a local, it was a smaller TED Talk, but it doesn't really matter, because once you do a TED Talk, how small it is, you say, I did a TED Talk. And he did, like, I shouldn't say the number, but I'll say it's 1 digit, or it's pretty low on number of podcasts for someone that's well known. And he's a rock star, not literally a rock star musician, but I mean, he capitalizes on stuff that time-wise for content production. I'm sorry, I don't want to sound like I'm picking on him. You know what? More power to you. I'm really glad whatever you do to get in TED Talk. I think that's great and wonderful. But when you look at some people that are producing, and then you look at someone else that's doing something, in less than 3 months. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. You said it better than I did on that one. But you look at it and go, okay, there's got to be an aspect of luck. And I'm thinking, okay, here's another one for you. We all know John Rampton. He's like, I can't remember which kind of editor, but he's one of the top editors as far as search engine Engine Journal, and he had a podcast somewhere. I think it was the Search Engine Journal podcast, where he talked about how to get on Forbes. So like you, Charles, I'm thinking I'm going to go listen and just, how to get on Forbes, because my background, and I'm going to save it and not do it all here. But my story in the financial industry, I'll just say this for any of you listening, here's a blatant self-promotion. My story and what went on behind the scenes on the West Coast Madoff should be in Forbes. Even if it's old news, it's a story that only 25 people are privy to, and I'm one of the 25 only people that were actually there that saw that. So anyway, so I thought, well, if I can I don't care if I write it, let me get a hold of Forbes, because this story is worth telling so that I can encourage people on how not to be taken advantage of by the West Coast Madoff. And by the way, if you Google that, it doesn't exist because I made it up, and it is. But I mean, correction, now that I've babbled my brains. There really is a West Coast Madoff, but that phrase is the phrase that I use for a cherry picking scheme that happened in Los Angeles. Okay, anyway, that's aside. So where was I going? Oh, so I'm listening to the podcast, and the whole story is about how, I don't know if I'll quote this right, you'll have to look it up on a podcast, but John Rampton tells you how to get on Forbes. And all of it is about, like, every week he's going to these networking events. And if I was listening correctly, it sounded like he's basically crashing network events that he wasn't invited to, and just handing out business cards. And I mean, John Rampton, if any of you know him, is really, really charming. So I understand why it worked, because he is so charming. But I'm like, that's what I'm doing wrong. I'm out here producing content. I'm not, like, I need to be working it.
Be accosting people.
Exactly. It's like, oh, yeah. So I don't know what the strategy is, but I guess just pure unadulterated content production is not the route.
Yeah. Only the other people who create content.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's different strategies, but somewhere this one particular unnamed person and John Rampton and Roxana's was more, I think, by chance, but she happened to be in the right place, right time. And Amanda Palmer, they hustled. Maybe that's the word. They hustled at the right time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And well, we've talked about it on the show before, that ultimately, regardless of how much you're doing, it really does take that, because you don't even find out about where the right place is unless sometimes those people are there by accident, but sometimes those people are there by working on that one thing until they get there, Yep. So, and
sometimes we find out kind of from the backside of, like, places we've worked. If somebody wants to look at my resume, they can. That sometimes who we think has gotten there by accident, there may be some favors or money exchange or other things that aren't necessarily illegal, but
done purposefully.
Yeah, and it's interesting how when you have a chance to work in corporate America, and it's funny because I still love corporate America in spite of, I might pick on corporate America, but you start to see, you see what goes on behind the scenes and how deals are made.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, I was in corporate America for I guess the first, 6 years of my career, and apart from that, I mean, there is an element there that it isn't going to be your performance, and you understand that at some point. It's hard to accept. You come in bright-eyed, starry-eyed, and you think it's going to be all about my performance. I'm going to be there. I'm going to say yes to them when they need me. And at some point, you do get that reality check, whether you get it at the 6-year, 5-year, whatever point, that no, it's all that other stuff in addition to that performance. And maybe this is the same thing.
I agree with you. It's unfortunately, after all of the corporate experience, I'd like to say that somewhere it's performance, but I worked for a mission, like a nonprofit kind of a thing. And there, I think it was probably the closest to you worked because of performance. That was like my early life or whatever. I worked as a volunteer. That might've been the purest sense of, hey, we're giving you a few kudos because of your performance. But Charles, all of the corporate America, I'm sad to say, there's basically dirty dealing. And when I left the last place, when I was CTO, I realized the only real way to succeed at the next place is to have dirt on someone. And I hate even saying that out loud, because ethically, I don't agree with that. But it's almost like you have to have a secret on someone, file it away. Oh, and by the way, don't file it at work, file it at home. And then it's like you have to threaten, when they're going to get rid of you for this, that you say, and Charles, you know my history. This isn't just one place.
Oh
This
yeah.
is
Oh
actually
yeah. Right.
several
Right.
places. You have to
Right.
have
Yeah.
some dirt enough to say, oh, and did your wife want to know that you're sleeping with the secretary? And you know, I hate that because that is not who I am. So I was like,
Right.
don't
Yeah.
do that. Don't do that. But yet when you're looking at it where you're going to lose the job because somebody else is doing that, not about you. You know, you could be white as snow, not doing anything wrong. But like I
Play the
had a
card.
lady, yeah, I had a lady that put sand in my car. I was on the 405. I almost died, literally. I mean, that sounds really dramatic, but if anyone's driven on the 405 in Los Angeles at rush hour, it's not like you can get out of your car without getting hit and flattened, you know? And everyone thought my car ran out of gas. It wasn't. It was literally someone had put beach sand in the gas tank. Now that I would think
Wow.
that I made that up and that somehow, oh yeah, she's trying to get attention, whatever. But I mean, when the when the people are fixing the car and they're pouring out the sand out of, and you know that you didn't go over the beach and just put beach sand. In fact, you haven't been to the beach for like 5 years now. You know, how did it get there? So she remained employed. I actually quit the job unrelated a while after that, but it was a matter of jealousy. So there's some there can be some strange goings on in corporate America the higher you climb up that ladder,
Yeah.
especially.
Yeah. And I guess there is that element that it's more than just, you know, in our case, the internet is content and you do have to be prolific with your content. But then I think what we're saying is it's some of those other not just intangibles, but as you called it, I think it's hustle.
Mm-hmm.
And the hustle puts you in the right place at the right time, hopefully.
Yep. And maybe as like closing out this session, as far as like, and maybe that title worked out really well. What's next is, yeah, what you're learning, whether you're a musician or, you know, any kind of content producer, or anyone just trying to make a buck. Yeah, you have to put an element of hustle. If the word hustle disturbs you on ethics, and I get it, then let's replace that with strategic placement.
I think, you know, hustle bothers you. There's a, and this could, and I don't want to say hustle bothers you if you want something to sound professional.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, I can see that.
It doesn't, because everybody wants to sort of have something that sounds official and professional, but then hustle is not that. It's just it's none of those things. It's not your pedigree. It's not your advanced degree. You and I both have them. It's not your it's not your diction. It is just filling in every crack until you get what you want.
Let's face it, there's two kinds of communication. I think of this even when I send you Skype messages. It's like, what's my intention in doing this? Am I taking Charles away from his family for, like when you send a Skype message to someone, it's kind of two things. Either there's a certain aspect of hustle. So even Charles, even when we're talking about business, there's a certain point where how is this going to put food on the Harper family table? I want to make sure I put the Harper family table, not Harper table family. There's a certain point of looking out for number one or number one's family, whatever. There's a certain element in business that's hustle. And then the other one is the personal. It's like, oh, I'm having a bad day, and the rant, whatever. So, if you look at your communications, even when I contact people on Facebook, I'm like, hey, how are you doing? How's it going with the family? But at some point, why are you here? Oh, well, I was looking to see if we could do a joint venture. Well, once you're doing that, you're doing a hustle.
Right, exactly.
Right. So, just admit it. You're doing a hustle.
Right. No, that's right. No, that's it. That's it.
Wow. This has been great. As always, I love chatting with you, Charles. This has been really good.
Cool.
So yeah, the question to everybody is what's next? That's your assignment, to figure out what's next and how you're going to do your hustle. All right. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in to another Marketing Momentum with Charles and Deborah. And we'll see you same time, same place next week.
Okay. Bye-bye, Deb. Bye-bye, everybody.